What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. So, I'm really excited about today's video because I'm going to share my story. Now, that might seem kind of silly because obviously I talk about my story and I technically talk about myself a lot here on the channel, but I thought it would be really cool to have a video where I talk about from where I first started, talk about everything that got me to the point where I am now. Now, the reason that this kind of came to my mind is because like on Instagram and stuff, a lot of people, myself included, post like before and after pictures, right? And the one issue I have with those is that it doesn't tell the story. And the story is so important, especially getting to where I am now, where I really feel like if someone sees me on the street, right, they don't even think that I'm overweight, or I was ever overweight. They probably think that I look fit, which is great, and that's what I've worked for, right? But there was a lot of work that went into that and a lot of things that I had to go through to get to where I am now. And I think it's really important, and for me, I think it'll just be cool to have on the channel from the very beginning to where I am now. So that's what we're gonna do. I started my weight loss journey the very end of 2012 and the very beginning of 2013. I honestly don't even really exactly remember the day, but I know that it was before New Year's because in my head I was thinking, oh, this could be a New Year's resolution. And I actually found some pictures from, I believe it was May or March of that year, and that's pretty much me at my biggest. So I'm gonna try and find as many pictures as I can and put them over this video so you guys can kind of have visual representation of what I'm talking about. So this is me at my heaviest. 360 pounds, probably heavier. Honestly, I always say 360, but I didn't step on a scale until I lost, in my head, probably at least 30 pounds, and that's when it said 330 pounds. But I honestly believe that I was probably heavier than that. It was a few more months until I decided that I wanted to change. Now, if you want to know what happened and stuff, I have videos on that. But you know, the end of 2012, the beginning of 2013, that is when this whole journey started. So when the journey started, I was 20 years old and I was working at the Van shoe store. I was working part-time. I really didn't know where my life was gonna go. I tried to go to college. I'm not the, you know, I dealt with being in special education in high school and stuff, so I really had I just didn't have the confidence in college. I really felt like no matter what I did, I wasn't good enough in college. That was really hard for me, so I didn't know where I wanted to go. So I was working part-time at this shoe store in the mall, and I didn't know what I was gonna do. So I started losing weight, and honestly what I did, especially being as heavy as I was and how terrible my diet was, I just started with what I call the common sense diet. So cutting out soda, junk food, liquid calories, fast food. That's pretty much what my diet consisted of anyway, so cutting that out was actually a big step. So I started with that, and then I just started cutting more stuff out and really just kind of trying to repair my relationship with food. And again, I'm still working at the Van shoe store, and I started losing weight, and like this was really exciting because I had never actually gotten to a point where I would lose like any big amount of weight. Any other time that I would try to lose weight, I would lose maybe 10 pounds and then give up. So I was never someone that lost 50 pounds and gained it back, right? So I remember I lost 30 pounds and I was super excited. Now, the reason that I say I lost 30 pounds, again, I don't know exactly how much weight that was, but at the beginning, I was not going to the gym. I was too terrified to go to the gym. This was actually a blessing in disguise because it showed me that you can lose weight and that actually your diet is by far more important than the gym. And every time that I would fail before, I would go to the gym and burn myself out and try and do a bunch of cardio, and then I'd come home and pretty much eat whatever I would want, maybe be a little bit smarter, but really not change my diet that much, and that's why I wouldn't see results. So at that moment, that's when it clicked for me, like, oh my gosh, your diet is so much more important than what you're doing in the gym. Now, on top of that, I could not afford a gym membership. Again, like I said, I was working part-time, so it just wasn't in the cards for me, and I didn't have a car, so I wasn't gonna be able to get there. So there was a lot of things that made it so I couldn't get a gym membership, but again, I was able to lose some weight. Now, fast forward a little bit to when I actually was finally able to get a gym membership. I was actually able to get a gym membership at 24 Hour Fitness, which is funny because I actually ended up working at the same exact gym that I lost a lot of my weight at. But I was able to get a gym membership, and that's when I weighed myself and saw that it said 330 pounds. And in my head, I kind of thought, I've probably lost about 30 pounds. So that's where the 360 pounds comes from. Now, at this time, I'm still not doing any specific diet. I'm just kind of being smart with food. Like literally, that's all I did at the beginning. I didn't have some crazy special diet, keto, paleo, vegan. Like there was nothing that I was doing that I was following. It was just in my head. I was like, okay, eat what's healthy, don't eat what's not healthy. And it really did work for me at the very beginning. So the reason that I was actually able to afford a gym membership was because I got hired at a food place called Vaughn's. It's funny, I was working at Vans and Vaughn's at the same time. So I was working at Vaughn's doing like basically being a bagger, just helping people out, you know, doing like really just, it's an entry level position. But I was working both of those jobs and I was still losing weight. It was actually kind of helpful for me, I think, to have so many jobs because I was always busy and I wasn't thinking about food very much, which, I mean, it seemed kind of weird because I was working at a supermarket, but being more busy made it a lot easier for me to not focus on food so much. This is probably mid 2013, and pretty much what my days looked like were I would work at Vaughn's in the morning and then I would have a few hours off, or maybe sometimes I went straight from Vaughn's to Vans and I would work. But a lot of times, you know, I didn't work both jobs in the same day because like I said, I was part-time at the Vans shoe store, but I was starting to get full-time at Vaughn's, so that was really exciting. I pretty much just focused on myself at this point. Like in my life, I was able to really focus on myself. So I was able to, like my days looked like if I was working both jobs, right? I would work both jobs and I would go to the gym, and that's pretty much all that I did. Now, at this time, again, I was not lifting. I didn't know how to lift. I didn't know anything about that. I was honestly too afraid to even step on the weight floor. So what I was doing was just doing cardio. Now, again, this video is not me trying to say what you should do, what you shouldn't do. I'm just trying to share my story. So what I did was I just started doing cardio. I would do 15 minutes on the elliptical, 15 minutes on a stationary bike, and 15 minutes on a treadmill. And that's literally all I would do. I would do that and then I would leave, too afraid to even step on the weight room floor. And during this year of my life, this is when I lost most of my weight, if not all of my weight. It took about a little over a year. So I was just doing cardio, trying to eat smart, and this is when I actually found YouTube. I didn't find YouTube, but I found like weight loss tips, and I found fitness people on YouTube, and I started watching that. So now I'm watching different YouTubers, different fitness influencers, and I'm getting really excited. I'm actually really wanting to start lifting, and that was something that I was like getting interested in. And now at this time, I actually was able to switch my job at Vaughn's, and I was working in the meat department. So that meant that I had a full-time position, and I was still working at Vans. So I was just doing a bunch of work, and I started lifting. Now, it's funny because when I first started lifting, first off, I had no idea what I was doing. So again, I watched YouTube videos. But honestly, like the reason that I thought about, okay, I need to start getting stronger was because I was thinking about joining the military, and I knew that I needed to do some push-ups, I needed to be able to do some pull-ups and sit-ups, and I literally couldn't do that. So that's why I decided to start doing that. Now, when I first started going to the gym, I went with my friend Nolan, my best friend Nolan, because again, I still didn't have a car. I didn't have the money to afford one. So he was actually, it was a huge blessing, him in my life at this time. He's still a huge blessing in my life, but he was willing and excited to start going to the gym with me, and we would go every single day, and he would drive me every single day. Well, actually, we started 3 days a week, and then we just kind of bumped it up. He would drive me to the gym, and then we would just do like arms or chest, and we honestly didn't know what we were doing, but the fact that we had each other there, we were able to kind of motivate each other, and we weren't as nervous, and I wasn't as nervous because I had him on the floor there with me. Once we got to this point, this is when I had pretty much lost all my weight. Now, I looked a lot different. I'm gonna put up some pictures. This was actually, we decided to take these pictures. Me and Nolan both took the same pictures because we were gonna say, okay, we're gonna do a challenge. Who in 3 months will look the most different, right? Like we wanted to see who can put the most muscle on in 3 months. We didn't know what we were doing. 3 months is not enough time to put on muscle, but we took these pictures. Now, this is crazy because this is almost exactly a year after that first picture I showed you. So that just shows you kind of how fast I lost the weight. So these photos are from March 1st of 2014. So it's a little bit over a year of me losing weight. Now, these pictures are significant to me because it marks a time in my life when I was really struggling with food. So like I said, when I first started losing weight, I did the common sense diet, which for me, it really was really good. And I honestly recommend that a lot of people do that. When you're first starting out, there's no reason to get super fancy. You can do the basics and you can see a lot of results. But for me, I started, cutting that out, and then I thought to myself, okay, if I cut more out, if I cut more out, if I cut more out, and then that mentality just got toxic, and it really wasn't healthy. And I've talked about this before on the channel, but I started struggling with binge eating. I didn't know what was going on. And all of this stuff, it was really frustrating because like I had lost a lot of weight, but I wasn't happy with where I was. I still wanted to lose a little bit more, and I was struggling with this binge eating. Now, all of this kind of led me to start looking into nutrition more and be like, okay, I need to understand why I'm losing weight and how I'm losing it and what can I do to maximize my results. And that's when I started finding out about If It Fits Your Macros and just nutrition in general. Now at this point in my life, I was able to leave the Vans shoe store and just work solely at Vons. But then my best friend Nolan actually gave me an opportunity to sell cars with him at Toyota San Diego. So I took him up on that offer. Now, I thought it was gonna be a good idea. I am not a car salesman, so that didn't last for very long. Thought I had a job lined up and I left, and then I found out that job fell through. So for the first time pretty much in my adult life, I didn't have a job, and that was really scary. Now luckily I was only unemployed for about 2 to 3 weeks, and I actually ended up getting a job at a shooting range, which I've also made a video about. That was not the best experience ever, but this is like pretty much when I had lost all my weight, and now I was trying to find out what I wanted to do. So I started doing the bodybuilding style training, and I was starting to really fall in love with that style of training. And then I actually ended up leaving kind of leaving. It was a messy situation at the shooting range. Again, I've made a video about that. And then again, I was unemployed for a little bit. Now I was working at the shooting range for maybe about 4 months, so it really wasn't that long. And then I actually moved over and I got a job at Starbucks, which still to this day is probably the best job I've ever had. I loved working there. And if you guys have been following for a while, you'll know that the first videos on this channel, I was actually working at Starbucks. So that brings me to, the YouTube channel and starting my Instagram. So I actually started my Instagram first, and I had my Instagram before I ever started working at Toyota San Diego, but that's where, I started posting my stuff on Instagram as Obesetobeast, honestly, just because I felt bad that I was posting so much on my normal Instagram. So I was like, okay, I'll just post, these pictures and stuff and transformations and stuff about my fitness journey. I'll put this on the ObesetoBeast Instagram. So that's what I did. And then, so now I am working at Starbucks, and then I, decided to make a YouTube channel. Now, the reason that this kind of came about was actually one of my best friends, Brian. He actually still has a channel, and you see him in videos all the time. Brian, I'll link his channel down below. He was the person that pushed me to actually make a YouTube channel, because it was something that I was really interested in, because again, I was still staying with my, with my bodybuilding style training. I was watching a bunch of fitness influencers. In my head, I was like, it'd be so cool to make YouTube videos, right? Because that's where I was learning everything from. I was learning almost everything from YouTube videos. So he was like, dude, I really believe, so we ended up meeting through Instagram, and then we met at a gym, and he basically was like, dude, you need to make a YouTube channel. Like, I think it would be so cool if you made a channel and you shared your story with other people. And I wanted to do it, but I had the excuse that a lot of people have. I was like, I don't know how to start, I don't know what to do, and I don't have a camera, blah, 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 blah. And he basically took away all my excuses. He's like, okay, so if you guys are familiar, the very first few videos on this channel, he literally made for me, basically. He filmed them, edited them, put them up on the channel. Like, he really pushed me to make a YouTube channel. So that's what I did. I decided to make a YouTube channel, and I started, filming myself. And then I was able to actually make my own videos. The first ever video that I ever made myself was a Feeding the Beast, a full day of eating. And to this day, it's still funny watching those videos. Dogs, don't shut up. Sorry about the dogs, but we're gonna keep moving. So from there, my diet was looking, this is when I finally figured out how to track macros, what macros were, and basically just how to track my calories, because that was something that I was really afraid of. And it really was, like, for a long time, like, I honestly didn't think I would be able to do it, because like I said, school and stuff and numbers was never good for me. I was never very good at it. And so it honestly, like, it brought up that same feeling of like, I don't think I can do it, because it has to do with numbers and measuring and weighing, and it really did scare me. But once I got over that, I was able to start tracking macros, and my relationship with food started getting better. So now I am making my own YouTube videos. I work at Starbucks, and I was working the early morning shift, and then I was actually able, this is when I got my job at 24 Hour Fitness. So I was working at the gym where I actually had lost most of my weight. Now this time in my life was really crazy, because I was waking up at 3 a.m. If you watch the old videos, you have seen this. I was waking up at 3 a.m. working until about 12 o'clock, and then I would get off, so I'd get off at 12, and then at 1 I would go to 24 Hour Fitness and work until about 8 p.m. and then I would train after that. And on top of that, I was making YouTube videos. Again, they weren't the best videos in the world. They were just filmed with my phone, because that's all I had at the time. But my life was crazy at this time, but I honestly loved it, and I really enjoyed that time in my life. And that time in my life really showed me that I was capable of a lot more than I thought I was, and it really taught me just hard work and getting through things. And it really is just like a time in my life that I think about, especially the fact that I have videos that I'm able to watch, and like every time I look back to that, I just smile, because it was it really did shape who I am now as a person. And let's fast forward a little bit to probably a moment that a lot of you guys know about, the moment that I decided decided to film the first ever loose skin video on my channel. This was something that I actually wanted to do from the very start, just because, like I said, I had my Instagram before, and I would get so many questions about my loose skin that I'd posted pictures before, but I wanted to just make a video so people could see it and I could kind of talk about it, right? And when I decided to make that video, it blew me away, the response. And I knew that it was gonna be something special because I remember when I filmed it, my friend Brian actually filmed it for me, and he was, at the end of the video, I looked over, I was like, okay, cool, we're done. And he was literally crying. And I was like, whoa, I've never seen anything like this. So literally from me deciding I wanted to film the video to it being up on my channel was maybe about 5 hours. And then the video went up, and over a few days, it ended up going viral, and in that moment is when my life changed. I went from being someone that was, working all of these jobs to literally like going on the Ellen Show. You guys have heard this story, like going on the Ellen Show, and my channel really like growing a lot, and being able to kind of, I took the leap. I definitely probably wasn't ready to leave. I ended up actually, before I get there, I actually had left working at 24 before I left Starbucks because I really enjoyed Starbucks. So I ended up leaving 24, and then everything was still blowing up. It was still blowing up, and I was like, wow, this is actually like really becoming something that I could do as my job. And I knew that if I was able to give more time to it, and if I was not waking up at 3 a.m. every day and really able to just focus more on this, I thought that I could make something out of it. But not even just that, like I felt like I could help more people, right? So a few more months go by, and I finally decide, okay, I'm gonna leave Starbucks, and this was a big deal for me. And it's so cool. I also have a video on the channel of my last day at Starbucks, and that was really emotional for me because I didn't know where I was gonna go. I didn't know what I was gonna do, but I knew that this is what I felt like I was called to do. This is what I felt like I was put on this earth to do, was make videos and help other people with these challenges. And that's exactly what I did. I left my job, and then I started making YouTube videos full time. And fast forward, basically I was just working out and making videos for a good amount of time with my friend Brian. We were pretty much hanging out every single day. And then Brian came up to me with this crazy idea, and he said, I think it would be really cool, because he had competed before, but he told me, like, I think it would be really cool if we compete together, as well as his brother Eric, and we all decided to do a show together. Now, this is another part of my life that was defining. And it really was, like, it was a big deal, because I thought that it was just such a crazy thought of going from being morbidly obese to actually stepping on stage, with my shirt off, being all tan and brown and looking crazy. Like, I thought that was crazy. And I was like, okay, I'm down. And from then, that's when I decided, like, that's when I really started, focusing a lot more on bodybuilding. That was kind of the training that I was already doing, but that's when Brian actually helped me with my diet, and I was actually, for the first time ever, like, really tracking macros, because before I tracked macros, but really tracking them and not giving myself any leeway, and competing and doing that prep was a huge moment in my life, because it showed me that I really am capable of being that strict, and I am capable of doing all of those things. But again, at this time, it was funny, because there was this thing in my head that I was struggling with, was I was terrified, because I had dealt with that bad relationship with food. I had dealt with that binging, and it was getting better, but like, I really felt like, man, I don't want this to bring me back to that mentality, because it had taken a while for me to get over that, but it still wasn't exactly perfect, right? Like, I wasn't like binging all the time, but I really felt like, man, if I get to a point where I'm so lean for this show, and then I'm done with the show and I can kind of eat whatever I want, like, that was scary to me, right? And I remember that would be something that I would think about. But luckily, I was able to do the show, and I was able to, compete and everything. It was such a great day, such a great experience, and something that I know I'll remember that for the rest of my life, right? But I told myself, after I was done competing, I said, I will not track for a little bit. Like, I don't want to get done competing and then still have to track macros every day to the ounce, to the gram. Like, I told myself I wasn't going to do that. And that's exactly what I did. And it was huge, because I didn't gain a bunch of weight. I wasn't like starving myself, but I felt like, okay, if I'm hungry, I'm gonna eat. If I'm not, I'm not. And I'm not gonna worry about tracking everything to the ounce and to the gram. And it really was just honestly, for lack of a better term, it was beautiful. Like, I felt so in control. And the thing that I think is really important is that I did have that base of tracking, so I did know, like, okay, this thing probably has this much calories in it. Like, and I would give myself, I knew I had such a good base of knowledge, right, that I didn't have to track everything. And that was huge for me. That was a really, really big deal. Now, fast forward a little bit more, after the show, I was kind of like in this state of like, well, what do I do now? Like, I didn't know what I wanted. Like, I had competed and now I was kind of training, but I was like, am I training for anything? Like, what's next for me, right? And that's when actually my brother had met his girlfriend now at my show. It's funny. So he met Sam at my show. And Sam actually had done CrossFit. She does CrossFit. And John was kind of getting interested in it. John's my brother. He was getting kind of interested in maybe doing that. And he actually went to his first CrossFit workout. And then he was going a couple times. And I remember just kind of like seeing him and I was like, that's interesting. Like, I've seen a lot about CrossFit. I was definitely like the regular bodybuilder that was like, I don't know about CrossFit. Like, you can get injured and like everything that every bodybuilder says about CrossFit, right? I never was negative about it. It's not like I have videos on my channel bashing CrossFit, but I just, in my head, I was like, maybe I'll avoid that, right? But then I saw just how much John fell in love with it, and I really became interested. So he had me watch a few documentaries on CrossFit, and I just was like, I was hooked, right? And then I had my first CrossFit workout, which again, I have a video here on the channel, and I fell in love. Like, from the first workout, honestly, before the first workout, after watching those documentaries, I was already hooked. But after the first workout, I was like, wow, this is something that I really, really, really enjoy. And it has been an amazing journey ever since then. August 9th of 2016 was my first CrossFit workout. And now I pretty much, I mean, it's all really history from there. Like, I fell in love with CrossFit. I've been doing CrossFit ever since. I still do bodybuilding in the morning. I'll do CrossFit at night. And it really has, like, they both complement each other so well. And I really, really enjoy it. As far as kind of what my diet looks like now, like, honestly, I go through phases of tracking and not tracking, and I really believe that that's kind of the, honestly, like, what people should strive for. When they start tracking, right, you should strive to not have to track for the rest of your life. I don't think that it's healthy to track for the rest of your life, but I do think that it's good to find a base, not track for a little bit, find a base again, make sure you're not giving yourself too much leeway, or if you do want to lose a little bit of weight, you do that, and then you don't have to track again for a little bit. But honestly, like, my relationship with food now, and this is really important, like, honestly, I think that this is one of the most important things. My relationship with food now is so healthy, and like, I really don't struggle with it at all anymore. And I really believe that that's why I will never go back to the weight that I was. I've never spiked and like gained a bunch of weight. Like, I've never had to deal with, losing some weight and then gaining 50 pounds and having to lose that again. Like, once I started 5 years ago, like, I've never gone back, right? There's never been a time where I've been like, man, crap, I gained 50 pounds. It hasn't happened because I've set goals for myself. Like, I wanted to do the physique show, and before that, there was other goals that I set, right? Little goals, like I want to lose 10 pounds. Like, every little goal happened, and then I decided I want to do a physique show, and then I decided I want to do CrossFit. And now I really believe that it's important to always set goals and strive for those, so you're not thinking about going back, right? Like, that's so important to me. A lot of people say that keeping the weight off is harder than losing it, and I feel like there might be some truth to that. And obviously, again, this is just my experience, everybody's different, but for me, honestly, now I'm at a point where the further I'm away from that start date, the easier it honestly gets. Like, because this has become so much part of my life, and it is my lifestyle, and it's what I enjoy so much. Like, I never feel like, man, I have to go to the gym. I'm always like stoked to go to the gym. I'm gonna be going to the gym soon, and I'm really excited about it, right? Like, it really is something that I look forward to. And on top of that, eating healthy for me, or eating the right amount of calories, or not overeating, I don't do that because it's not like I'm feeling like I'm forcing myself. It's like, I know if I overate, I would feel like crap tomorrow. My training would be bad. Like, there's so many other things that go into me not wanting to overeat, that it really isn't, it's not this chore anymore. It's something that I enjoy doing. I like being the best version of myself, and like, all of that stuff has refined over these a little bit over 5 years. Now, that's the point of this video, right? That's what I'm trying to show you guys, is if you see a before and an after, understand there is so much. Like, this video is so much longer than I thought it was gonna be, but there is so much stuff, and there's even more than that, right? I'm not gonna make a 3-hour video of my journey, but like, there's even so much more than everything that I shared. But I just think it's so important when you see those before and afters, understand how much went into the during, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, everybody's different, but that's my in-between story for you guys. Like I get so many questions of people asking, and it makes sense, right? I've been making videos for a while. Not everyone started with me from the very beginning. So if anything, I hope that showed you, you know, what I've been through, and more than anything, I hope it shows you to not compare yourself to others, and just understand when you see those before and afters, there's a lot going on during. All right, I'm gonna stop talking. This video is gonna be a lot longer than I thought it was gonna be, but I really hope that it answered any questions that you might have, or you just, you know, enjoyed listening to my story. But again, I want to say thank you guys so much. You guys have literally changed my life, and I really can't express how much I appreciate you guys. But thank you so much for watching the video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. There was one other thing that I wanted to say. Oh yeah, look how buff I am.
Obey the warning signs, and when there are flashing lights or wigwags, don't attempt to cross until they come to a complete stop.